Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Another edition of Monday Night Football. It's a special show for you guys today. Get you guys in. If you are driving, if you are on your phone, try to get to a computer to get to the chat to ask us questions. We're going to go ahead and get started here. If you're not dancing, there's something wrong with you right now because this is a sick beat, sick cumbia. All right, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiso from Mex Nations. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football, Mexican soccer, balompié, whatever you want to call it, on this Monday night. We have a lot to talk about. But first, I'll address that I am not in my typical studio, as you have the Mex Nation, 8-building story studio. It's actually a hotel room. I'm a la Tom right now. So
have you been booted out your house, Suizo, by the wife?
hey. So I've been kicked out of the house. So I want to just kind of mention, it's Monday night. Everyone's excited already for what happened over the weekend. Lots and lots of news. We're going to be talking all about that English broadcast. Huge news that was dropped upon us. I mean, it was a bomb on us, especially all of us to talk about Liga MX in English. I think it all started from Cesar with the WhatsApp tweet, and we're all going crazy about, is this true? It was. We'll talk all about Liga MX in English over the broadcast that Univision did on Saturday. We'll talk about the Clasico Nacional. We'll talk about the Veracruz news that's happening with Tuca Ferretti and Gignac, all the drama there, and maybe end it with some Chicharito and Mexicans abroad. That is our program. So let's go to our experts who are here today, and we'll start with Mr. Tom Marshall. Tom Marshall in Guadalajara. Tom, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, good, Weasel. Hi, everyone. Obviously busy weekend now with the Clasico Nacional, running around with all the stuff going on. But yeah, all good here, and looking forward to the show.
Good. Well, glad to have you on, Mr. Johnny Rico, who has not one flag. Is that a flag or is that a sticker, Johnny, in the background? Cool. Is that like one of those stickers?
It's one flag, and then the logo was painted onto the wall. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's painted onto
Johnny
the wall.
Rico, diehard mecanista. He is,
Johnny, who are you rooting for over the weekend, Johnny? I'm not sure.
Who
who you're
has
rooting
a
for.
great blog now, entry at Food Mex Nation.
I am.
Make America Great Again. You got to read it every Wednesday. So
Yeah.
it should be fun. Johnny, how are you?
Yeah, we got a good one coming. I've been better. I've had better weekends.
No, there you go. Johnny.
I was very unbiased. Towards this game. I think I was very neutral.
All right.
I didn't say anything. Let's get. I'm already getting into this. It's good.
Yeah. San Diego, Tijuana area. Cesar, how are you, sir? Chivas, you should be happy at least. Your Chivas winning.
Yeah, sure. I try not to hype it up too much, just because I try to not be so biased. But now everyone knows, so I may or may not have been a little excited about Saturday's result. But yeah, no, it was a good week. It was that was the only match that was obviously exciting. The full mess match going on as well, and then some unfortunate stuff that we saw on Friday night. But yeah, no, plenty to talk about, and I'm excited to talk to Nico, of course, just because the big thing for me is, especially since we're all talking about Mexican soccer in English right now, was that English broadcast. So that's what I'm excited to chat about.
Well, there it is, a great intro. If you don't know him, Nico Cantor has him as a guest, our special guest today. Nico, if you don't know, on Saturday, it's the voice of the first official goal in English. I'm sure there were more, but at least for Mexican soccer, it had to be the first English broadcast in Clasico Nacional history, I'm thinking. But Nico, you're here. Nico from Miami, Florida. How's it going, brother?
Thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm so happy to be here. It's going great, man. Saturday was awesome. I really enjoyed it. We got great positive feedback, and a lot of people seemed happy with this project, with the start of this project. So I'm happy to be here and talking some Mexican soccer with you guys.
Awesome. Well, we'll get right through it with Nico. For all of you guys that are on the chat, saying hello to Brian Duran, Max Cosme, Eddie V. Giovanni Dos Santos is actually on the chat. He says, take off that Chilango music. So Eddie V and everyone on there already asking questions. La Volpe has to go, right? We'll get to that right now. But let's go ahead and get to it. Nico is on with us. And just right now, you talked a little bit about it. I feel obviously this is big news for us. On Monday, we get the news that Univision is gonna have English broadcast, the Clasico Nacional. It's not like maybe in the summer of 2018 or in the fall of of this year. No, it's this weekend. Not only that, it's the biggest game of the season, and we're gonna get a chance to see it on Facebook. So Nico, tell us a little bit of how that developed, because I hear that it was almost finalized and you couldn't say anything. So tell us a little bit on the background of how that happened.
Yeah, so they let me know about this a couple months ago, and I had the in on this project. They told me that they wanted me to broadcast for Univision, but we couldn't really say anything until it was all official. And the timing just so happened that it was Clasico Nacional. It was like, okay, we're ready to go, and this Saturday's Clasico Nacional, so why not start off with that? And it ended up being great. We got, in total, the official number is, no, not the official number, around more than 1 million views, which is crazy.
Awesome.
At one point we hit like 31.2 thousand in the second half. That was nuts. That was incredible, And it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be listening to these broadcasts, because obviously it's the first time. A lot of people were like, why is it in English? People were like, they were like, hablen en español, por favor. They were like, they didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
For those people, yeah, and it was kind of.
It's on the Univision, Facebook. So let's say you didn't pay attention to the news. You're not following anybody in English soccer. You're your typical, sports fan que habla español that has Univision. They like Univision, and all of a sudden they see the game pop up. Oh, Univision streaming, and it's in Spanish. I know you guys kept saying, "Hey guys, this is why we're doing this because it's in English," but you kept repeating that throughout, and I really love the fact that you were interacting with the fans. You were looking at what was happening in that chat. We do have a couple of questions. Tom has some questions from the chat. Take it away, Tom.
Yeah, I think Juan Velasquez is saying, what's the plan moving forward? How long is it going to be for, and what games are coming up this weekend?
So, in long term, we obviously have these 46 games that we officially will be broadcasting on Facebook Live. And this weekend, we're going to have on Saturday, Clásico Joven, which is a huge matchup. We'll obviously get into those details later, but we'll be doing that on Saturday. And then Sunday, we're going to be doing Jaguares Chivas from the jungle.
From the jungle, nice. Yeah. And Nico, I've got one quick question. Like, the way I understand it, how the deal was set up was that it was between kind of Univision and Facebook. Like, they thrashed out all the deal. I'm just interested, did the league, or have the league, from what have they actually been involved in any of this, or is it basically very much between Univision and Facebook?
From my understanding, I think it's between Univision and Facebook, but then again, I'm only the talent in front of the camera or behind the microphone. The details of the contract that was signed and that is allowing us to do this, I'm not so sure of. So I can't really answer that question fully, but I'm glad this is happening. There has to have been some sort of understanding between the three parties, but I don't want to go on record and say exactly what happened because I'm not so sure of the details.
Yeah, no, I spoke to someone in the league right after we got the rumor, and they honestly said that they didn't actually know. They didn't know about it, which was surprising. But it goes back to something Cesar was saying. I think, moving forward, what I'd love to see now, I know Cesar was tweeting about this, is that hopefully the Liga MX can really jump on this now. They've got kind of like an in now, with Nico doing the English language and stuff like that, us guys writing about it and stuff. I just really hope the league see this as an opportunity. They've talked late last year about they want to internationalize the league. Well, hell, Facebook and Univision have just put it on a plate for you, So hopefully we see more content, and so that new fans can kind of get a perspective outside the broadcast about what's going on in the Mexican league.
Yeah, and that's something I keep thinking about. That's something I want to ask you, Nico, because obviously I think that it could have a huge impact on the league and the way that they think about how Mexican soccer should be covered, and then provide over here to those fans north of the border. So I want to ask you, do I mean, right now we only have Santos Laguna, we only have, Club Tijuana, who are doing English language coverage and promotion. Do you think perhaps that this could be big enough where it could influence some major teams, say like a Chivas or America, to finally put some stuff in English?
That would be great to see, and it's interesting because the countries are so close together. You have a really interesting, fun, exciting league that's happening right across the border, so close to home. And for the longest time, we haven't had English language coverage. And now that we're moving into this, like in the United States, this phenomenon that it's like second generation Latinos that maybe might not speak amazing Spanish, and maybe they're struggling to understand the broadcast in Spanish. We're providing a connection between Liga MX and the roots and the culture of these people that are growing up at home, that are enjoying Liga MX through what their parents have taught them. I can imagine a kid that is a Chivas fan that was born in the United States because his dad was from Mexico, and maybe we're bridging a gap so that people can enjoy it with their families and kind of translate the same type of emotion that the Spanish broadcasters give it, but into English. So it's a fun project, and if the league catches onto this and sees what we're doing, and then teams start putting out, make like an English language Twitter account, that would even spread the amount of content and coverage and the demographic of people who watch Liga MX. And if we put together United States and Mexican viewership of Liga MX, it's bound to become one of the most popular and most watched leagues in the world. It's a globalization. Like in Europe, it's happening. In Europe, for example, PSG has an Arabic Twitter account, a Spanish Twitter account, an English Twitter account, a French Twitter account. They have it in all language, and they're kind of spreading the PSG brand throughout the entire world. And if we start doing that, and you guys are obviously one of the people that are responsible for this. You guys laid the groundwork for this to happen, and I want to say thank you to you guys. It's such an it's new and it's fun. Well, it's not new for you guys, but it's something that hasn't been done. You guys were the first. You guys were the pioneers of Liga MX in English, and now it's becoming big and it's huge, and hopefully more big things are to come.
Well, thank you for that.
Just something that just quickly came across then. Like imagine if I don't think Chivas or America or even the Liga MX actually shared the link, did they? I might be wrong there. Imagine if they did that. If they were.
America shared it on. America shared it on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, did they? Oh,
right, nice.
Facebook. I didn't know that.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it'd be good to get the club and giving it the support. You know what I mean? So that it can maximize its potential. Basically,
I guess Chivas wouldn't have shared it because of the Chivas TV thing. So, it's kind of counterintuitive to do that. But it was also just a broadcast for the United States, because Univision doesn't have rights outside of the U.S. So, people in Mexico, nobody in Mexico could watch it.
Okay. Yeah, that happens sometimes with our streams.
Nico, my question is. You mentioned earlier you guys were around the 1 million viewers for this stream. What numbers were you expecting beforehand? Like, viewership were you guys expecting?
I think the question was how many, if there was an expectations, because you cut out a little bit, Johnny, expectations of numbers, if there was something there.
So we had no idea what we were getting into. There was no precedent for this. So it's like, I don't know how many people are going to watch, and I bet there were a lot of people that were watching the broadcast that didn't even listen to us didn't listen to the broadcast because Facebook Live you can get on your phone, and they're like, you know what, I'm at a dinner Saturday night, how am I going to watch El Clásico? And Univision Deportes says, hey, you can watch it on your phone, and there were probably people that wanted to watch it in English and people that were in Spanish that had the luxury of just having it on their phone. So we didn't really know who was listening to us, what language they preferred to listen in, if they were new Liga MX fans, if they were going to be hardcore Liga MX fans. So we were really going into untouched territory as to numbers, as to demographics. So as we have more broadcasts, we'll see how many people are listening to us. We can compare it with the first broadcast. I mean, the first broadcast was huge. Like, you can't get bigger than America Chivas, and those numbers obviously were happening because of the importance of the game that we were watching. So we'll see how they compare to the numbers from this Saturday. Saturday is going to be a huge game. Cruz Azul America is a Clasico. Hopefully we'll get numbers similar to the ones that we got on last Saturday. So we'll see. Johnny, I can't answer your question so specifically because there's nothing to compare it to. This is completely new for soccer broadcasts, for English language of coverage of Liga MX. So we'll see as time goes on, and if people continue to enjoy what we're doing, hopefully it can get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that you mentioned, Nico, is the passion. You said you wanted to translate that passion from that, when we listen into it in Spanish or in other languages, or we hear one of the biggest things that we hear from when we're watching other games in English and English broadcasters is that it's flat. I mean, there's times when they're just saying the name Vasquez, Hernandez. It's like, and you kind of lose that, and even people that don't even know Spanish, they like listening into the radio because obviously you bring the the mythical goal on there, you bring that fire. And I want to tell you, I think you did that really well. I think right from the beginning, we were all on a chat. I know Johnny's saying, I love the passion that's happening right now. It's getting me hyped up. That's the kind of the kind of broadcasting we want to see. That it's a mix. So if I'll mention this now, if some of you don't know, because I mean it took me a little by surprise. Nico has it comes from the blood from Andres Cantor and his goal. If I remember, 1994 was one of the first times I remember that long goal, and it became really famous in the United States. So what perfect candidate to do that than his son, who's who speaks English fluently and has that passion in his blood to call out games, and obviously you're there on the mic. So I just want to say thank you for that. But at the same time, that was really important for you guys, right?
Yeah, that's a huge factor in how these broadcasts are going to sound like and feel like, because we don't want to take away from the Liga MX experience when you're changing the language. So as I was saying before, we kind of want to translate that same feeling and that same passion and keep it Liga MX in the way that we're broadcasting it to you guys. Ramses, who was on the call with us, and Guad Venegas, who was also there, we all grew up listening and absorbing, understanding soccer from a Latin American lens. I obviously was born here and I've listened to many broadcasts in English, but I prefer from when I was young and how I learned to watch soccer, obviously because of my dad, how I've heard my dad so many times over and over again calling soccer games, and not just him, but people from broadcasters from all around the world have been a huge influence on my style. And I'm just getting started, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with this, because as we progress and we get more of an American audience, I want to find that nice balance between the Latin American flair and that the American kind of calmness in the broadcast, because you don't want to be too flat and you don't want to be over the top. So yeah, so you just gotta find. We'll see how people react to it, but that was our goal from the beginning. Ramses has that style of doing play-by-play, and I had called games with him before, and we really complement each other on the play-by-play and then the commentary, and we try to give it that spice, that Latino flair to the English language broadcast.
Yeah, Nico, quick question. So you mentioned, just to go kind of more onto the schedule, whatnot, you mentioned you're going to do the Clasico Joven and Jaguares versus Chivas. Do you guys happen to know what other matches you guys have set, or if there's a schedule yet for this season?
I don't want to say exactly what we have, because I'm not so sure. I haven't seen the full schedule yet, but I'm usually like on a weekly like they give me the heads up like a week before. I kind of study to see what we're gonna be broadcasting before, but I'm not too sure, so I don't want to tell you exactly what games we'll be calling. I'll follow up with you guys later as I figure this stuff out.
Awesome. Well, good guys. Any last questions for Nico? We get going on this. I just want to say thank you again from all of us. It looks like we were all very excited and can't wait on it. Any other questions that came from the chat that you see on there, Cesar, if you want to kind of look at before we end kind of this?
I've actually, after Tom posted those questions, I'm like, all right, I guess I don't have to do this. Good job, Tom. So I haven't actually been looking at the chat right now. But I'll give it a check in just a second.
All right.
Well, there's
there you go.
Samuel Jimenez wants to know what team Nico supports.
Oh.
So I don't really support a team in Mexico. I'm gonna be a good journalist and say I'm very objective in the way I cover soccer. But I do have a team. It's the team that my dad made me a fan of. My dad is Argentinian, and I grew up with Argentine culture around me. So I support Boca Juniors. I'm diehard crazy Boca fan.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Get that passion over.
I'm pretty upset that Benedetto chose to leave my Club America to go to Boca. So I'm pretty envious of that.
Or the place. Cutting you off right now. All right, let's go into the Clasico. While we have Nico's got to get off in about 8 to 10 minutes. Let's talk about the actual game, the Clasico Nacional, what you guys saw of it. And I'll start with Tom. Tom, your overall impressions of it, of the game, aside from the La Volpe nutmeg that you saw that might be suspicious. Did that actually come out of the official how many days? Or is it still kind of because I heard it was not days.
I heard a 1-game suspension, but nothing's been confirmed yet.
Been confirmed. All right,
I don't know a time, yeah.
Tom,
The disciplinary committee, sorry, Tom, to cut you off, but the disciplinary committee usually comes out with a statement on Mondays, right?
Yeah, right away.
And so the rules officially say 1 to 6 games. So
6 games, yeah. And that's where everyone's kind of just okay. Did the ball go out? Was he already known? And we'll see how it goes. Maybe this is the way that it's going to save his job, but we'll go into that in a minute. Because maybe he's not playing if they lose against in the Clasico Joven. But Tom, you were there at the game, Estadio Chivas. What you see? What was your uptake on this Clásico devaluado? Because it wasn't a while.
No, I think it went as people expected it. I mean, I said the thing before, and I think that this was the first Clásico where you could definitively say that Chivas were favourites. For many years. I mean, America is almost a mini little golden period for them. I mean, they've made 10 liguillas, whereas Chivas have been struggling. I think over the last 7 games, Chivas had only won 1 in 2016. So I think Chivas went into the game as favourites, and I thought they just about deserved to win. But obviously the referee, America didn't get much luck with the refereeing decisions. Yeah. But then again, I don't think they did enough. I mean, they didn't have a shot on target. So if you look at the game as a whole, I think Chivas deserved to win. They were the team that were trying to, take the game to the opposition, trying to score goals. Almeida obviously changed his system up by putting Pizarro on the left and then, making way for Zaldívar up front alongside Alan Pulido. So yeah, I think it was a good victory for Chivas. Obviously now, defeated Atlas last weekend and then Club America. So I think Chivas have got a lot of momentum now, and I think that they put themselves in the frame as title contenders. I mean, I really think that Chivas are right up there with all the rest of the usual names, for this title. And America, obviously, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm agreeing more and more with Johnny Rico as time's going on. I thought there was a bit of a lack of leadership on the field. I think the squad's a bit unbalanced. And honestly, I just don't think it's fitting with La Volpe at the minute.
Yeah.
Nico, before you leave, I know you got to leave in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what you saw. Obviously, you're calling the game, and once you take him back afterwards, and you're analyzing this Clásico Nacional to you, what's going on, especially with both teams, and how can how do you assess the Clásico Nacional in Mexico right now?
So Tom said something very interesting, that it was like we kind of expected to go the way that it kind of panned out the game, because although a Clásico anybody can win it, Chivas kind of took the initiative and played their game in the first half. And America, game in and game out, have nothing. And I don't want to get America fans mad, but there's a lack of ideas in the tactics. And I don't know if that's to blame between how La Volpe is saying it to his players and how they're executing it onto the field, and how the relationship is between the two groups, the coaches and the squad. But America, there's nothing on the field that's indicating that they're a cohesive group willing to put away teams. They tied Puebla at home 0-0 for like the fourth time in a row. They lost to Jaguares Chiapas over there. And, you know, Chivas had played a great first half, but they couldn't put the game away. And I said it at halftime in the broadcast. You know, this is something that it's a trend that we've been seeing in this Chivas from this season, that they play a great first half, and then in the second half, which is interesting, they've only conceded goals in the second half this season. We saw it against Atlas. They dominated. They were so good against Atlas in the first half last week. And they just kind of, the lights went dim, you know. They weren't as powerful, as bright as they were in the first 45 minutes. So I think if Chivas wants to win the title, they're going to have to execute Almeida's plan throughout 90 minutes and well. There's a couple players on Chivas that have been so-so for me. In the Clasico Nacional, Chofis was all right. I really like him. I think he's a great technical player. But when you put in El Conejito Brizuela on the right wing, he's giving you something so much different than La Chofis. And yeah, Chivas won, and then they deservedly won. America now, it's complicated, man, because they're going into this Clásico Joven against Cruz Azul. Two teams, two coaches that are desperate for that win. It's like oxygen for a drowning man. They both want to win it, and a loss could cost them their job. Cruz Azul, interestingly enough, has a Copa MX game midweek. It's Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, but they have to win that game, because if not, they're most likely eliminated from Copa MX, and that will be a huge blow. It sucks for me, panning real quick to Cruz Azul. They're so desperate for a win. They're amidst probably their biggest crisis in the club's history, and America is in the middle of a crisis themselves. So these two teams are going head to head, and it's going to be great to watch. And I'm going to plug it right now. Watch it on Univision Deportes Facebook Live.
Yes, watch it on Facebook. El Clásico, the guillotine.
At what time? You got to plug in what time. Don't just say just like you got to watch it on Univision. What time?
At 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock we start the broadcast. 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So see you guys there.
There we go.
All right. I know that you have to go, Nico. It is at the half of the hour. I just want to thank you again for joining us. Just the inside knowledge that you're giving us, and the fact that, you thanked us, which is, I think everyone was here was just kind of smiling like, okay, God, that's pretty cool. So thank you for that. You're saying that you're in Miami right now. Before the show, when we were prepping, you said this is where you grew up. Looking at the background of, you have all this soccer stuff. I was like, is Andres Cantor going to walk in? Hey, dinner's ready, or anything like that?
He's probably listening in his room right now to us. So,
yeah. Well, good. Well, from all of us, thank you, Nico. And hopefully we get to have you on. You have a house, you have a home here with the Mexican Soccer Show. And let us know, is there any way we can help you guys out? If you guys definitely watch, the cool thing, like I said, these guys read your comments. They were reading all about what everyone was typing there on the chat. Say hello to the other guys, Guad, Ramses, from all of us at the Mexican Soccer Show. Nico, thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you guys. It was an honor to be here with one of the pioneers of this English language movement of Mexican soccer. So thank you guys for having me on, and whenever you want, I'm at your service.
Awesome.
Thank you, Nico.
Thanks, Nico.
The dinner's ready. Hold up. We have Nico, dinner's ready.
Oh!
Andres. End the show right there.
Yeah, we can't top that.
kinda
We
makes
can't top
sense.
that.
We can't top that.
Awesome, Nico. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Man, see you later. Thanks.
All right.
We should seriously just end the show now.
That's it. We should just. We just end, and I was totally kidding too. I was like, yeah, he probably is in at his own apartment or something. Nope, he's there. Awesome, guys. All right, well, let's keep going back into it. Jumping back right in, Tom, and I'll ask you this right now: is somebody gonna get fired after Friday's Clasico Joven?
I don't know. I see it differently. I know everybody's saying that this is a case of whoever loses is going to get fired between La Volpe and Paco Gemes, but I think there's a big difference between the two. I think La Volpe inherited a club that has been doing very well over recent years. They've been winning games. They've been getting to quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. They've won a couple of titles, whereas Cruz Azul hasn't. Paco Gemes has come into an institution that's a losing institution that hasn't done anything over recent years. So I see it being very different. La Volpe, I don't think fits at Club America. I think it was a rushed decision to get him in there. I don't think Ricardo Palais was I can't see him being there in 3 years. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So and therefore, what's the point in that? So I think that's the America side. I just don't think La Volpe is doing well there. I think Paco Gemes, I don't know. You look at Cruz Azul. I think they've been unlucky. I know it's not. I think
it's the story of their life.
Yeah,
but listen, they've had the most possession in the league, 61.3, more than Tigres, more than Chivas. They've had most shots off target. They're number 3 in terms of chances created. They're doing a lot of things right. They're just not putting the ball in the back of the net. Now, for me, with Paco Gemes, he's possibly the best manager in the league. Let's not. This is a guy who got close to the Spanish national team job. This is a guy who is respected in Spain. All right, things haven't worked out, when he's been in certain teams like Granada, but he's a very good manager. Cruz Azul are absolutely stupid if on the basis of Saturday's game they let him go. They've got a really good manager. They've got a manager who's playing a style that fans like, and that eventually is going to get results. So for me, I think the Club America and the Cruz Azul situations are pretty different.
Touching on the Gemes thing too, I think, even though Cruz Azul lost that recent match, this is a team that had 21 shots in that last game, 21 shots. And I think that, and Tom, you talked about that on Twitter, saying that just, it'd be ridiculous if they were to drop him. I think that's just a problem with Liga MX, and it's an issue where, because of, it's a little bit of a tangent here, but we could just come back after this, but just because of our short tournament format where 7 or 8 games seems so significant to a season, because just of the shortening of the season, where it isn't a typical drop of manager, because that's a huge part of the season. It's going to be, we've already lost, what is it? Have we already dropped 3 managers so far? This would even be technically an early firing when you consider that the 3 Liga MX managers have already been dropped. But I think it's an issue with this league where this wouldn't be out of the ordinary. I don't think he should be dropped either. I think they, like you mentioned, Tom, it's not like he picked up a team that had been doing very well recently. This is a team that's had significant struggles in the past. This is a team that hasn't won a title since, I forget, God knows how many years, since the 90-something. But 97. There we go. But after 7 matches, that there is a chance, 8 matches, looking ahead this weekend, that there's a chance that he can be dropped or fired is ridiculous.
I think just before I know Johnny's going to go on, just give me one quick sec. Just quickly, Cruz Azul. I see the situation very similar to Chivas when Almeida came in. It didn't start off well for Almeida. They have to back him. They have to give him that kind of the independent. If the results aren't going the way, they're going to back him, because then the players come together as well. And then finally, just on America, I know Johnny's going to talk about America, but they do have 4 quite important players out of America. Edson Alvarez, Valdez, the centre back, Paul Aguilar, and Cecilio Dominguez. So let's not forget that they've got 4 starters out injured, which obviously doesn't help La Volpe's cause. Sorry, Johnny.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I was to what Cesar was saying. To what Cesar was saying, I don't think it's very early in the season. We're halfway done with the regular season.
I think that's just the problem with the short tournament format. It's just sorry. I'll let you continue. Sorry.
But I think I agree with both of you. I don't think Paco Gemes will be fired this weekend. No matter what the result is, I can almost guarantee that he won't be fired. The only issue I might see with Gemes' continuity is maybe at the end of the season he does get fired because Cruz Azul are starting to flirt with that relegation zone.
Yeah.
So maybe Cruz Azul management might start thinking, hey, we need someone that actually knows more about Mexican soccer and how to fight relegation for the next season. So that's the earliest I see Paco Gemes getting fired if things continue to go back.
It would be a lot for Cruz Azul to get even in the Chivas relegation zone.
Well,
they're
the slipping.
They're at the bottom
but
4. They're at the bottom 4 right now.
No, I think I went with Tom. Like, why? This is a perfect example of a team to just keep going with their trainer. It's not like they're going to find another better coach out there. We have the regurgitated coaches in Liga MX. And why not keep it with this guy? Even if they don't make it to the playoffs.
This isn't like a Ruben Amaro Romano. This isn't like one of those coaches being churned.
I'm not saying
that we see all the time. Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the greatest coach either, but I don't see another more qualified coach out there that Cruz Azul can just get. So
for next season, Vucetich is available.
Yeah.
For the Apertura season,
again,
Vucetich is
I'm
available.
sorry, everyone. El Rey Midas, regurgitated coaches that we've seen
If my team was in danger of relegation, I'd trust Vucetich over some fancy new guy that does not know much about Mexican soccer.
But he will.
But quick. And the other thing with La Volpe, just going back to America, it's quite interesting. There's this rumor going around, and there's a lot of headlines in Mexico right now, and over the last few months and even year about Televisa's problems. Does the club have the money it used to do? And I think that was one of the themes in the Clasico as well. You saw a Chivas team that have got this stability, but not just that. They've also invested heavily in the playing staff over the last few transfer windows. And so I think that's been part of the turning of, well, you could call it the turn of the tide in terms of the Clasico Nacional. But the rumor is that America don't have enough money or they don't want to pay the lease clause for La Volpe. I mean, I think ideally they'd want to bring back Miguel Herrera, no?
Yep.
That would be the dream.
Yep.
But I mean,
Miguel Herrera is coming back. I'm saying it right now. Miguel Herrera is coming back to America next season.
But I mean, the Chilean national team wouldn't pay Tijuana the buyout clause. It sounded like he wanted to become the Chile manager when PC took over. But the clause. But could America just go in and play the clause there?
Here's the thing. I think right now with America, I don't think there's a money problem. I think there's a lack of quality in their directors. I don't think Peláez, I don't think Romano are very good, directors of a team. They were negotiating to bring in players this offseason, and they couldn't get the signature. Avilés Hurtado to come to America. They lost a player to the Portland Timbers. So I don't think money is the issue. I think it's just the lack of quality in the suits.
I love the way you said that. They lost the player.
They lost the player. He's gone forever in the
Portland Timbers.
Lost to the Pacific Northwest, hiking somewhere. Actually, you can't find him. He's hanging with the Timbers.
Yeah, Sebastián Blanco, if I'm not mistaken. Sebastián Blanco is the player that both Portland and America were trying to sign, and Portland beat out America for Sebastián Blanco.
Do you think it's going to help La Volpe being suspended for a game or 2 games? Because it can just say, hey, it wasn't my fault.
No, it's his team. I mean, I don't think it matters it's his fault. He's not on the bench as well. It's not like it was just some accident. I mean, you can't be coming on the pitch.
It wasn't the like Javier Aguirre Copa Oro 2009 type of trip. I actually, when I was watching, I just, he heard a ref and he tried to take the ball, and again, it wasn't Who was it? Was it Gallito who tripped? Or was it that he tripped, right?
Yeah, it was Chapo.
Chapo. Yeah.
Chapo.
They look exactly like when I'm watching. I feel like I'm looking at them. But I felt like everyone's making the joke that he got all ball.
Like.
And he got all ball, and it was like I don't really see that big of maybe a game for coming on the field, but
I mean, he literally stepped onto the pitch. He shouldn't be doing that either way.
Yeah, but are we really regulating that? Because we've seen coaches do that, and it's not like anybody that crosses over the white line.
I mean, it's one thing. I mean, it's one thing if a coach just if he's yelling at something.
Basically, if you do that, you're going to get sent off and suspended. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like we'll talk about Tuca Ferretti in a minute, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But you know you're not allowed to do it. It's not like imagine if you're allowed to do it and the managers would just be quite good actually, wouldn't it?
How can you defend it? You can't defend any part of what he did there. I mean, like it was strange too. Like I really posting this about Twitter. I thought he tripped him at first, and then I saw a couple more angles. He didn't trip him. But people were like defending him. I was like, nah, dude, he got all
defending
ball.
him. It wasn't. I don't think it was that big of a deal. Like, oh, he came on and he tripped the player. It wasn't Javier Aguirre again. It was. I thought that the call, as he's seen. I mean, he's been a coach for a long time. It's not like he's like, oh, I'm gonna stop this play. He obviously there was a stop play.
I think that was just pure frustration.
Oh, that was a live ball. That was a live ball.
That was a live ball.
If it was a live ball, let's say it wasn't in the corner or whatever. Like, if it was a live ball, then go ahead and give him 5 games for coming in. Can you imagine stopping the play? All right, we can discuss it. Go ahead,
the replay kept showing how the ball never went. The replay kept showing
how
the ball never
went out. There was a replay from above the ball, so you couldn't really see if it went all the way out. But from what? Anyway.
But there was no whistle.
No. You know what it was? It was the player was down, and I think that's officially what he said that the player was down and they were stopping the player. I don't know if there was a whistle. Obviously, we don't know that. But anyways, regardless, I think he was stopping it. And, hey, he did a pretty good job trying to stop the play. I mean, Chapo went flying. All right. From one coach to the other, and the news that we're talking about, obviously Clasico Nacional, and we'll talk about. Let's go ahead and talk about what just inundated the headlines in Veracruz, which we keep seeing happening at least once or twice a season. Some giant outbreak of Liga MX and the violence that are happening with these Barras Bravas and with the teams. If you don't know, after it all started with Gignac scoring, coming back, right? I think somebody was tweeting out there, is Gignac going to ever score again? Bam, he scored again. And he went to go celebrate. The story that he says he went to go celebrate because his children and his children and his wife were in the stands and jumped over a couple barriers, celebrated a little. You saw all the bottles from the fans in Veracruz. And ultimately, that towards the end of the game, after Veracruz lost, supposedly, there was some violence. There was some violence from the Veracruz fans towards the barra of Tigres, which were, some of the family members and friends of some of the Tigres players, including Gignac. And you saw almost, a horrific display of just how scared the players were because they did see family members there. And that's where it seemed the violence. Tuca Ferretti also kind of saying, do something about it, yelling. You see a huge that picture of Tuca almost screaming at the cop, grabbing him, which I thought would be assault in the United States.
Screaming at him,
would be assault in the United States. And it just goes to show. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, but ultimately it just goes down to security. It goes down to security of that stadium, and we can ask, this guy shouldn't have done this, and this guy shouldn't have done this. Gignac shouldn't have went over, regardless of what it is. This stems from the problem of the police and the security that is, I think, in Mexico overall. The fact that the people don't care. They can do whatever they want. They know they're not going to go to jail unless it's videotaped or whatever. And away from that, we can place blame to anyone in their reaction, but it goes down to security. It's not like this happens once in a while. It keeps happening in Liga MX games. It keeps happening with Barra Bravas. What do we need to do in order for us to have a safe environment? And I think some of the teams are doing that, but at the same time, I think you put everything away. It's just the security and what's happening in Mexico, and it speaks and it translates into sporting events. But I want to hear your thoughts, Tom. You obviously go to more games than all of us because you're in Mexico. But really quick, the we could blame Veracruz and the fans and this, you know, that type of environment that they have where there's not as many cops. They know that this is happening, and they probably shouldn't be having those games if they're not going to keep people secure.
Yeah, I mean it's a difficult one. I don't completely agree with, you know, it's just, you know, necessarily Mexico. I think that, you know, if you see the Clasico Nacional and you see how Chivas organize the police in there, you know, it's top quality. You can just tell straight away. You know, the visiting barra is separated. It arrives at one end of the stadium. It's escorted in by security and police. You know what I mean? And that's the way to do it. I mean, but yeah, you're right. It's not an individual thing about with the individual policemen or policewomen. It's the organization of the event. And I think the most worrying thing about what I saw from the videos was that, you know, the Veracruz Porra side of the stadium all the way around to the other side, and that's incredibly dangerous in a stadium like that in terms of, you know, crushes and people falling down and getting trampled on. I mean, everybody knows this, and yeah, somebody's going to die. I know I've said it on this program before. I know it's not nice, but, you know, I've traveled with the Atlas Barra, I've traveled with the Chivas Barra to a Clasico Nacional in Mexico City, and especially with the Atlas fans that I saw. I mean, some of the stuff that I saw that day was, I don't know if I'd go back and do it because it was awful. You know what I mean? Yeah. People getting punched, things getting smashed. I mean, they didn't have much. The aim of the day wasn't exactly the football. It was kind of, you know, cause mayhem basically. So yeah, I mean, you know, but at the same time you got to control that. So I agree that overall the policing, the security has to be a lot better.
I think I agree too. I mean, obviously, I've never been to that stadium. I didn't actually get to watch most of the match, to be honest. This is all based off what I've seen from the videos and what I've seen from reports. But it seemed like to me, just the key thing, like we've all been saying, is just the policing. It's just the organization of the security there, which seemed to be a problem. And I think another thing that, and this is something I'm also unaware of, but I'm wondering about, you know, if there's registration for these supporter groups. I know I've seen reports. I know it sounds crazy, but like I know America has said that, like I forget who was from the America organization, has said that they do actually register their supporters groups. And
Chivas do as well.
And Chivas, yeah, but that other I forgot who was exactly from America said that other teams in the league struggle to do this. Other teams aren't nearly as good as they are as doing this. I wonder if this is a big push to finally be able to register those supporters. I know it's difficult to do that, but say a team gets a fine for those actions, then the team can then look at those supporters groups and say, here's the fine, you know, there was given to us and we're going to give it to you. And if that could be at least effective and at least trying to, at least part of the organization. I know it's difficult, but
everyone needs to do their part. I mean, it comes down to, I mean, if we're gonna have a game and you know that there's gonna be 20, 30,000 fans and you only have, you know, 50 cops, you can't do it. I think I was reading you needed 7,000 cops for a Clasico Nacional. 7,000 security personnel are at that game. You know, and that's what you need in order. And if you can't do that, you know, in El Estadio Pirata, then, you know, you didn't forget it. I think there's officials, if I'm not mistaken, Liga MX officials that go before each match and say, okay, I'm looking at the security, I'm looking at the field, I'm looking at everything. Yes, go ahead and play the game. If you automatically see that there isn't that many, then you should call off the game because of the security that's there. And I think hopefully we're learning from this. But
I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes as well. It's very, you know, it's very political. You know, Fidel Curi, the owner of Veracruz, is like a member of the party. There's so many journalists being killed in the state of Veracruz. It's just a disgrace. And he has to negotiate with the municipal police. He has to negotiate with the state police. And he was complaining that, you know, he wasn't getting backed up because they're playing political games as well. This is the other side of Mexican football that we don't see a lot, but it's definitely there.
I think a good rule of thumb is for every 1,000 fans, there should be 100 security and or police officers. That's why it takes about 7,000 police officers at a Clasico, because, you know, there's about 70,000 people at the stadium.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things that people can do, and I think you can just play.
Also, I think we've focused on how poorly Veracruz as an organization looked and how poorly their fans looked, but I don't think we're putting enough blame on Tigres fans, because this is, yes, it's a rumor, but a rumor that I will believe that it was the Tigres Barra or traveling supporters that started picking fights with the Veracruz fans around them, which I think was called like La Porra Familiar.
That
And
happens.
that's what prompted.
But that happens with
And
every
that's what prompted. But look at what happened with the Tigres traveling supporters in Santos a few seasons ago. Tigres traveling fans are troublesome, and they might have been a big cause. They might have been a big cause of what happened on Friday.
I mean, honestly, I have no idea if it happened, but I've been to a lot of games now where Tigres have sent a lot of people, and there's families. This is the irony of Mexican football. There's so many families that go to the games that you can sit next to somebody who supports the opposite team and you've got different shirts on. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about the Mexican game. You couldn't do that in European countries. There's no way. It just kick off straight away. So it's like, on one hand, you've got this really good, healthy atmosphere in Mexican stadiums. And then on the other hand, the basic problem, if you want to break it down, the basic problem is that they get out of control, the barras.
Yeah, but those are the teams that want the porras. I mean, the teams support the porras from a point of view that, it brings the tambores and brings that atmosphere. And it's going to take one team that goes, you know what, no more porras. We don't need you. We have a full stadium of people that are cheering, of people that have fans. Bring the normal fans that are in there. But no, some of those porras are well in line with the team. Yeah,
no, definitely. But, Santos have basically organized it really well. Chivas have got everybody registered now because they banned them for a bit. And then obviously the Barra wasn't happy. So, but there is a way of doing it. It's just, is it a priority for teams like Veracruz? Probably not.
Yeah. No, I think like you just said, it's whether it's a priority, whether it's they're willing to organize and register those fans, and then if these issues continue to occur, I mean, not even continue, like immediately give them bans, give them fines, and make them accountable for what happens.
Cameras.
So.
I mean, the thing, the camera, it's everything. I mean, there's loads of things, but the thing that one of the debate right now is, should the stadium be vetoed for a game? Honestly, I don't think that does anything. I don't really care. I think you have to absolutely guarantee that the next home game at Veracruz, where there's fans, is going to be policed properly, so it's a safe environment. It doesn't matter if you veto them, you fine them, whatever. You got to make sure that they actually want to and are willing to put on proper security at these stadiums.
Yeah, well, and then the club goes there and goes, okay, well, there aren't 4,000 police officers to come to the Estadio Pirata on a Friday night. No, who's going to pay them? Are we going to pay them? I think that there's a lot more that goes there. I think it should be suspended 1-2 games, whatever. I think then the Liga should really look into that, and there should be cameras at all stadiums. That's the league needs to do something in order for that. So much money goes in, right? That's where the league can support. You know what? We're going to give you a security system, 5-6 cameras around that are ultimately looking at that to see if there's anything going on. That happens in all stadiums around the world. There's people looking at the stands. I mean, here in the United States, you go to NFL game, and if someone looks at you, you can pretty much text their seat number and they get ejected. I mean, there's no questions on it. There's got to be things that the league is going to do, that the stadiums are going to do to make sure it's safer. And I'll go back to your point, Johnny. This doesn't happen in Tigres games. There's Monterrey versus Tigres, which is huge. This, the passions that are there, they do it right. The Bravas come in, but this isn't happening in Monterrey. And maybe there's something there with the traveling team. But I think I've seen that almost in every team where there's the Bravas that, when they get around each other, there's alcohol, let's
not just put this. I mean, I know obviously the Veracruz fans were the focus of what's been happening recently. We're not just saying, it's those supporters from that group. There are multiple supporters groups, in Mexico that have these kinds of issues. And as we mentioned, it's just being aware of policing these correctly, is being aware of registering. It's just the organization needs to be better. The teams and just the league needs to care more than they currently do.
Yeah. Should the players go out and celebrate like that? I don't know. I mean, that's another thing. Give me a yellow card.
I don't want to take that passion out. I think it's all about that. I think if he scores a late goal, they've not won for so long. He hadn't scored in 600 minutes. I think he's completely entitled to go and celebrate. Honestly, it's part of the game. That
stay in the field. Don't jump over 2 barriers to go to the in front of the Brava. Like, that's another thing.
Are you proposing that we stop with the Lambo leaps then?
No, I'm just saying. At the same time, we shouldn't have players jumping over barriers.
I'm not that worried about that, to be honest. That's just
what's going to happen? Somebody's going to have an ice pick and throw it at you. You know.
But that's not the celebration. That's because of the post security and somebody's been letting with an ice pick.
No, I understand that, but at the same time, you can't have fans jumping on with the other fans, like NFL style. You score a touchdown. I think you really shouldn't be doing that.
I know Gignac justified his action by saying that he was out supporting with like the friends and family. Even if he went up to the supporters group, I'm not saying like jumped in and like like did to the like if he went up to just kind of taunt them. I don't think that's the root of the issue here. I don't think that's a big worry for me. I don't think that is a significant problem here.
I would just say that you get a yellow card. You get a yellow card for taking off your shirt, right? I mean, get a yellow card for jumping over 2 barriers. Like that's where I'm seeing it is that way. So,
hey,
all right.
I remember a Roma player literally went up 5 sections to go hug his grandmother. Like that kind of stuff. You can't do away with that kind of stuff.
Okay, get a yellow card. Amarilla, you shouldn't do that. All right, guys. We just gave. I mean, people can't go in the field. They shouldn't come out. Like, keep your own distance, right? La Volpe's getting 3 games because he won in the field. All right, we're running out of time. We could seriously go another hour, really quick. Well, this weekend with an exciting game. Well, definitely a Clasico Joven. That's happening Saturday. Saturday. But what are the games, guys? What's another must-watch game for the league for this weekend?
Cholos against Monterrey will be a good one on Friday.
Cholos, Monterrey, Querétaro, Pumas, Atlas, León. Would be interesting to see the Rente. This is week 8, so hopefully this is where León turns it around, and wins 8 games. So
I think this is now the point where you got to start paying attention more so to those relegation candidates. I think there could be these teams are they're running out of time. I'm talking about these teams like Morelia, Veracruz, Chiapas, Puebla, and also we got to. It's not that big of a problem, but we got to start bringing in teams like Cruz Azul now, who they're, as we mentioned earlier, they're slowly making their way down. So I think it'll be interesting to see that that Chivas Chiapas game and also that Toluca Puebla, just because a lot of those relegation candidates have gotten some surprise wins so far this season. So I think I got to start paying attention to those games. Yeah, so I think Toluca Puebla and Chiapas Chivas should be interesting too.
All right, good. Really quick, Mexicans abroad. We have said it, I think, officially after 5 goals in 3 games. So Chicharito's back, at least in his scoring. Whatever happened, we talked a little bit about in the last show. But tomorrow, important game against Atletico Madrid. That history that Chicharito has against Atletico, if you remember Real Madrid, especially during the Champions League. He's scoring. He's coming in. It's at home. This is a perfect stage to elevate Chicharito's status once again, that he scores in the very important games. Hopefully, we'll all be supporting there. But good to have him back. Good to see that. What else is happening with Mexicans abroad, Cesar?
Yeah, just really quickly, talk about we got to bring up, I think, Miguel Layún, who's had some injury issues and just hasn't really been a part of Porto's starting 11. He got some minutes over the weekend, which is important, especially for the national team when we got a couple of World Cup qualifiers next month. Also, Carlos Salcedo, he finally got some minutes. His first start of the year for Fiorentina against AC Milan, if I remember correctly. And he played almost as I've seen some people call him, say he was like a left mid, he was a left back, but it was almost like a high pressing left back. But I think those were the big things to mention. Also, really quickly, Raul Jimenez got an assist for the game winner. It was like it was an assist, but he had I think it was Mitroglou had if I remember correctly, it was Mitroglou. Someone from Benfica, he did 99% of the work. Raul Jimenez just provided the pass, and it was just Mitroglou did the rest of the work. So, but technically, he got the assist. But other than that, yeah, no. And to keep an eye, you just mentioned Chicharito playing the Champions League match tomorrow. We also have the Porti. They'll be playing Juventus on Wednesday. In another first leg of the round of 16 for the Champions League.
Yep. Well, lots of things going on. You can see European soccer, obviously the Champions League, all of our Mexicans abroad there. Then you also have Copa MX during the week starting on Wednesday or tomorrow, I think. And then also the CONCACAF champions, Pachuca, is in Costa Rica You have Pumas Tigres in Coca Champions. So lots and lots of football to watch.
Also, really quickly, Mexico's U20 team.
That's right. They're playing right now, which we're not watching.
They're playing right now. Last I checked, they're winning. They're beating Canada 5-0. So I think they almost got that spot into the next round. I think it's technically the classification stage where they go into another group of 3 teams. I think that's almost all but guaranteed. But I have to look at that again. But yeah, last I checked, they're winning 5-0.
All right, guys.
Already been over.
I think, did we lose Tom, Mr. Tom, or has he been bent over looking at his keyboard this whole time?
He's just passed out. He's like, you know what, I'm done with these guys.
I'm done. I'm done. All right, guys. Well, just want to say thanks a lot to all the viewers here at the Mexican Soccer Show. Thank you to Nico. Thank you for obviously joining on. And if you're still listening or if you're going to watch this, you're always welcome to come here. Thank you, Cesar. Thank you, Johnny and Mr. Tom Marshall, for being part of this historic. I'm going to say historic. The fact that Andres Cantor came in. Hey, the Mexican Soccer Show, you know, sometimes has Andres Cantors in there. We're going to be so close if Nico's going to be living there for a while to have him on. We'd be like, someone said, can he scream out goal really quick? I think everyone went crazy on the chat. So I wanted to thank Mr. Andres Cantor, who watches our show. I'll say it, who watches our show.
I got a text from him. He said he's our number 1 fan. He's actually been watching for years. You know?
Bueno. I have to say the bueno. All right, guys. Thanks again. Thank you to everyone on the chat. I'm sure we had a lot of new viewers and visitors. We're on at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern every Monday. We call it Monday Night Football. We are trying to make a movement of Liga MX. Todos hablamos español, pero we like to think, we like to talk in English, and this is our passion that we share through this medium. Hopefully you can join us. We also have a Facebook page, The Mexican Soccer Show, and also obviously on Twitter. Thank you to Footmex Nation for putting all this together. Follow Footmex Nation, follow The Mexican Soccer Show, and follow Mr. Cesar Hernandez on his Twitter, and we'll retweet it out there. Johnny Rico, also his Twitter, if all you Americanistas will love it. And Mr. Tom Marshall, who had to step off. He's the superstar of the show, guys. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys here next Monday for another edition of The Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta luego.